everyone, Lindsay Ford here, and today we're really going to dive into this idea of decluttering your kitchen, decluttering your spaces that really will help support more sustainable behavior change moving forward. And if we're talking about really building a better relationship with food, having a more nutrient-dense meal plan, decluttering is something that's got to be probably pretty high up on the list of something you do every single week, and even thinking helicopter view from a month perspective. Are you constantly kind of taking out the trash? Are you aware of your environment where certain things that aren't really supportive and helpful for you just aren't really around you? There's a really great saying, out of sight, out of mind, and in sight, in mind. So when we can have more nutrient dense things around us, we're going to be more prone to consume those things. And then the moment we can start kind of decluttering and getting rid of some of the unsupportive things in your life, then we're probably not going to think about them quite as much. So there are four main things that I'd say for you to really consider decluttering and getting rid of from your home environment, your work environment, or other environments that you know you're around often. I would say those four things would be: one, added sugar, foods with excessive added sugar. It's going to be hard to completely avoid that. I'd say week to week where there's no intake whatsoever. So your added sugar is one. Artificial sweeteners, the second one. So artificial sweeteners are not the same as added sugar, but they are put into products as if it's going to add the sweetness component to it. Alcohol is the third, and then the fourth thing would be things that are hyper palatable foods. So if we go back to the top, added sugar. So that's the stuff that really lights up our brain. It really triggers that whole dopamine response. For every 4 grams of added sugar, that's equivalent to 1 teaspoon. I think that's kind of important to note, because as you think about what do I need to watch, what do I need to get rid of, going through your kitchen, going through your pantry, and doing a little bit of math. How much added sugar is actually in some of your products. Condiments, sauces, beverages, things in your freezer like baked goods, desserts, that kind of stuff, to really ask yourself, is this worth it? Is this going to be helpful to have around? There may be some things that you feel comfortable having around and you only have it on occasion and in moderation, and that is okay. But if there's something that you know is not supportive for you, then that would be something to think about getting rid of or giving it away, just finding a way to get it out of your space. Artificial sweeteners is the second one. So this is the stuff like sucralose, the Splendas, the Sweet and Lows, those kinds of products. I don't want to bash any one product. It's more about that those things add a lot of sweetness to something, almost to the point of it being, well, one, they're much, much sweeter than actual sugar. So if we were to compare honey versus the artificial sweeteners are actually be much, much sweeter. If you're trying to really monitor just how much sweetness is coming into your body, the artificial sweeteners are not going to help that. So if we are trying to train our palate and our brain to actually gravitate towards more savory, bitter, different types of tastes that aren't as dopamine enhancing, then we have to still watch the artificial sweetener intake. We've got to train our palate to go in a different direction. I would challenge anyone to completely cut these out for a week and then try something like a Diet Coke and see the difference on how it actually tastes. It will not only taste overly sweet, but I guarantee you it tastes really fake and not natural at all. The third one is alcohol. I'd say this is a big spectrum one. For some, they can't step into a bar, and for some, they can have it in moderation on a weekly basis. I do think it's something from a decluttering, removing from your space. I think it is something to really consider. If you know that you have trained yourself to open up the bottle of wine first thing when you get home, maybe one, you've got to do something different, but secondly, maybe not having it available to you is actually the most supportive thing you can do, at least for right now. The fourth one is the hyper palatable foods. I'd say each of us kind of gravitate towards something different. For some, it's the pizza. For some, it's the chips. For some, it's the ice cream. Each person's going to have certain things that comfort them probably a little bit more. But anytime you combine sugar, especially the added sugar, with fat, especially the unhealthy types of fats, and salt, we've basically got what I would consider the Trinity. And this Trinity is something that triggers us to not only start, but never stop. Those foods, I'd say, like, think bag of chips with a little bit of even sweetness added to it, a little bit of sugar maybe thrown into the mix. And once you open that bag, are you really going to stop at one serving? Probably not. So this is the kind of stuff to really think twice on to have in your home environment. For anyone out there that really struggles with, well, what about the person I'm living with, and what about this person, and they're okay with it, it could be worth having a really just honest conversation on the whole right now thing. So right now, this isn't helpful. Right now, I prefer not to bring this into the home. Right now, it'd be really helpful and supportive of me if you just didn't purchase it. It doesn't mean that maybe you never have it again. It just means in your personal space, it's just really not doing you any favors. Other environments to consider: dining out, work, buffets, family gatherings, social gatherings where you've got to, that's something you can't really control, but maybe there's a way where you don't go out to eat as often, or you figure out, okay, if the work environment situation is pretty triggering and difficult, maybe you can bring your own stuff there with you so that you don't go towards the stuff that you're trying to declutter from your typical meal plan. So think about, what do you need to get rid of? What are some things that you need to, in a sense, change and create boundaries around so that this stuff actually doesn't clutter your mind?